What is going on, team? Welcome back to another video. Apologies if this sounds a little bit tinny straight out the gate. I have not got the right mic on me today because I've literally just got a new phone and I didn't realise that the adapter has actually changed now, and all of my mics are now irrelevant basically, and I'm going to need to find an adapter for that. But until then, the show needs to go on. But anyway, I wanted to come through with a Q&A video today just to answer a few questions that I actually put up from a question box that I put up on my story last week, and I got a few questions on the back of that, so I thought I'd just show a little YouTube video answering those. So let's dive in. So question number one is, what is the best way to lose belly fat? Now, first of all, you might have heard this before, you can't spot reduce belly fat, okay? You can't spot reduce where you lose the fat from. So for example, if one of the guys comes to me and say, I've got fat on my chest, you can't spot reduce that area. So when guys say, right, how do I get rid of the belly fat? Overall, the goal here is to just lose fat, okay? Let's just answer that first of all right? Now, around the best ways to do this, first of all, is that you need to be in a calorie deficit. Now, you might have obviously heard that before, and that is pretty basic information. If you have heard it before, then why are you not doing anything with that? All right, you must be in a calorie deficit. It is as simple as that. All right, so the actual actionable steps to do this, and to answer obviously this more specifically, what is the best way to lose that, is a combination, I would argue, of 4 different things. First of all, number one, obviously you need to be in the calorie deficit. So start tracking your calories, okay? What I would personally do here is create a little meal plan. You could ask myself, you could go onto ChatGPT and ask it to create a meal plan for you, and then obviously you can chop and change it based off the foods that you like. But basically, type in obviously your details, find out like your height, your weight and things like that, and find out what calories you need to be on to actually be in a calorie deficit. That's number one, all right? And then from there, once obviously you've then got that meal plan, you can start tracking your calories in MyFitnessPal. So if you wanted to follow that meal plan, then to give you some more like structure, a lot of the guys that I help do exactly that, and they appreciate obviously the meal plans that we come through with, because we basically will carve that out according to where they're at right now, and what they need in terms of their specific targets, okay? But it just gives them structure. That's like the main thing. All right. Now, some people don't like a meal plan and they actually prefer to have a more of a flexible approach. And again, that is absolutely fine as well, okay? But as long as you are tracking your calories accurately and you are hitting the targets, okay? So once obviously you're doing that, what you're watching for is your body weight to start reducing, okay? You need your body weight to start dropping. Some of the people say, oh, but your body weight won't always drop. If your goal is to drop belly fat and to lose fat, one of the biggest drivers of this is going to be watching your body weight come down, okay? So let's just, again, I speak very, very clearly with my guys. You can probably tell that already. That's what you need to do, all right? And if it's not dropping, then you need to slightly reduce the calories or increase your output. So whether that be obviously training, cardio, steps, all of those will equate to your output, all right? So point number one, track your calories. You can create a meal plan based on the back of that. Number two, get stuck into a training program, all right? Now, whether you follow obviously a program, whether you're just winging it, obviously I'm not suggesting for you to wing it. I would always suggest for you to follow a program, but get stuck into a consistent training program, whether that's training 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever you can fit into your schedule. That's the priority in choosing the right program. It's how many days can you consistently commit to, and then of course you can then start hitting that regularly, all right? Moving forwards from that, cardio. Start including cardio into your sessions. This is going to increase your calorie deficit. So say for example, if you need 2,500 calories, right, to maintain your weight. Now let's say for example, you're now tracking your calories at 2,100. So you're in a 400 calorie deficit. You will drop body fat on that if you hit that every single day, okay? Now adding cardio to that is going to increase that deficit because now you're burning more calories as well, okay? So cardio being the third point, and then finally on that is steps, okay? Your daily steps. Most of the time, a lot of the guys that I work with, they work a desk-based job. So naturally you're sat down a lot throughout the day. So with this, you need to make sure that you are actively trying to get your steps in so that you can, again, increase your expenditure, okay? It's gonna boost your metabolism and it's gonna help you burn that body fat, all right? So the best way to lose belly fat though is accumulation of obviously all of those 4 things, but the key thing that I will say outright, and this is after years of coaching and getting obviously results with the guys, is actually sticking to that on a daily basis. okay? That is the number one factor. A lot of people say, what's the best way to lose belly fat? And they know, right, okay, I need to track my calories, I need to train consistently, I need to hit my cardio and so on. So they know the answers, but it's actually doing it every single day for weeks. That is what is going to equate to you losing the belly fat, okay? Now, quick caveat, any of the guys that are sat here thinking, but I've got stubborn belly fat, fair enough, okay? You're gonna continue losing obviously weight, you're gonna lose initial body fat, then you're gonna get to a point of the stubborn body fat. Keep doing exactly what I've just said, because you will just continue to burn through that then, okay? Stubborn belly fat is just that last little bit that people struggle to lose, but very often it's because they struggle to lose it. It's not because the fat is stubborn, okay? It's not sat there thinking, oh, I'm not gonna go anywhere. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, all right? You just need to carry on with the inputs so that you can continue dropping. Now, the adjustments on that, quickly on that. So if you don't lose body fat, all right, or if you're not losing weight, that's your daily metric, by the way, is your weight dropping to know whether you're losing body fat or not. If that's not happening, then very slightly reduce your calories or slightly increase your steps or your cardio, and keep doing those changes each time. Okay, body weight start dropping again, perfect, keep going until it starts leveling off or stopping. Make a change your nutrition, pull it down a little bit or increase the output, then obviously carry on, and that literally just rinse and repeats. All right, question number 2, can you actually build muscle over 35? Yes, that's a good question. Yes, you can. I say it's a good question. It's a funny question, but all questions are valid. You can, of course you can. Now, a lot of the guys, they might think that they just write themselves off after, let's say, 30 or 35 because they're like, oh, my metabolism slowed down and oh, but my testosterone has dropped and so on. And while that is true and can be true, you are still very much in like your prime years. And we've coached hundreds of guys over 35, in their 40s and so on into an unbelievable condition, okay? That should not be a stopping factor to you getting in shape, okay? So key things here to be able to build muscle is A, train really fucking hard, okay? Train really hard. You need to make sure that you're training hard, and if you're following a program, which you should be, you need to make sure that you're actively getting stronger on certain indicator lifts. So what I mean is track a certain movement on each muscle group, for example, like a bench press, a shoulder press, a row, and then on the weeks going forwards within your training program, track those so that you can see that you are actively getting stronger as the months obviously go on. And if you are building muscle, okay? So that being number 1. Number 2, take creatine. Number 3, make sure that your daily consumption of protein is in a good place. So generally speaking, you've probably heard this before, but that will be around 1 gram per pound of body weight. All right, pretty simple framework, just stick to that. Some people give it a range and so on, just put it bang in the middle, 1 gram per pound of body weight, and you'll be good to go, all right? If you've got a lot of body fat on you, you could do 0.8 per pound of body fat, of body weight, okay? In terms of the protein that you're having, all right? But if you've not got excess, like a lot, I'm talking a lot, all right? If you've not got loads, then just use a pound per 1 gram per pound of body weight. Question number 3, what made you get into fitness coaching? To be honest, this actually stemmed from my original roots, which was actually in the gymnastics space. So I used to do gymnastics growing up, I used to compete, and then I got into coaching from there. And then I've always known since I was younger that I wanted to be a personal trainer. I literally, my cousin was a PT, and since then I thought it was super cool, and I've just been like laser focused on that since growing up, to be honest. But how did I get into it is my older cousin used to be a PT, and I kind of looked up to him. He was quite a lot older than me, so I kind of looked up to him. So that was point number 1. And then point number 2, actually rooted from the gymnastics background, where I kind of tapered down in terms of the competitions, and then I started coaching that. And then that obviously then led into me just being a coach. And then because I wanted to always be a personal trainer, I got into it from that. And I think that must have been about 12 years ago now, maybe, something around that. Question number 4, how do I stay consistent when I'm super busy and lack motivation? Okay, all right, first of all, to answer the latter end of that, don't be relying on motivation, okay? Because you would have heard this before, right? Don't rely on motivation because it goes, blah, blah, blah. I'm not gonna sit here and badger you for that. You would have already heard it, but it's true, you shouldn't, okay? You need to rely on discipline and what just the daily inputs need to be. You know, because you're asking that question, that you wanna get in shape, okay? That should be the motive in itself. Motivation is difficult to have when you're out of routine, when you're eating crap, when you're not training, when you're sleeping poorly, and you're in bad habits. Motivation naturally is going to be difficult because your body is in a low state of energy, okay? So you need to understand that you're not going to feel motivated all the time, or if you're sat there asking that question, but all of those inputs are currently going in, like you're out of routine and blah, 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 naturally your energy level is going to be low, so you're not going to be motivated. Anyway, I would personally focus, and what I'd say to that portion of this is just focus on what the outcome that you want to be. You're sat there obviously asking that question because you want to be in shape. Really tie onto that and really kind of like latch onto that to be like, do you know what? I really want to get in shape. I've had enough of looking the way that I do. It genuinely pisses me off every single day. And I think about it on a weekly basis. It's affecting my confidence, it's affecting my life and so on. Use that as the motive and then just get to work. Okay, you need to get the ball rolling. It's like pushing obviously a ball down a hill, right? You need to do that initial push, and that is you starting to then create its own momentum, all right? Naturally that will happen. As you get stuck in, as you start training more consistently, as you start tracking calories, or as you start monitoring what you're having with regards to your food, and as you start progressing, the motivation will start igniting on the back of that because you will have so much drive to just continue, okay? Outside of that, I would actually set a date on something. So for example, have you got something coming up? Book something, whether that be a holiday, whether that be like some form of fitness event, like a marathon, a half marathon, a high rocks, a CrossFit meet, something like that, you get the point. Because when you've got something with a date in mind, it really gives you something to then drive towards. And on those days that you just don't want to, you best believe that you're going to be going and getting it done, okay? Because you've got that thing coming up. Of course, outside of that, I would always say get a coach as well, because that will give you the accountability and the guidance that you need. And then on the consistency part of that, what I would say, when obviously you've got a busy schedule, and what we do with our guys, because 9 times out of 10, nearly every single one of our guys run a very busy schedule. Everyone has a busy schedule, right? Everyone. So you need to establish, first of all, what days you can commit to. So one of the questions that I ask a lot of our guys is, right, okay, how many days per week, knowing your schedule, how many days per week do you think you can commit to a training program? And then that's where it should start. Because if you know that you've got 3 days available, or 4 days available, or 5, whatever that number would be, then that's where the plans then come in place. It's right, okay, I've got 4 days available that I know that I could hit the gym. So now you need to obviously get clear on a 4-day training program. And then when you've got a 4-day training program in place, you now know what you need to be doing. So now you can start being more consistent, because now you've got structure in place. A lot of the guys that come in and they struggle with consistency because they're busy is because they don't have a plan. So if you pair not having a plan with a busy schedule, you're setting yourself up for failure. Question number 5, how important is tracking calories or macros when trying to get leaner? It's very important. You need to do that. I'm gonna say it outright. If you're struggling with your body weight, if you've got excess body fat, you need to be tracking your calories and macros. I would say just calories if you find that a little bit overwhelming, like the whole macro talk and everything like that. You can start out on just calories and just make sure that you hit your protein, and you will be absolutely fine for 90% of the journey, all right? But you need to be tracking on that. As I say, either obviously use a coach, use ChatGPT, to give you framework on what you should be eating and getting good clarity around this. Because if, for example, you struggle with tracking because you don't really know how to do it, I would actually suggest getting clear on a meal plan and following that first and tracking that, because that's going to give you tracking experience, following a plan that you know if you eat these foods, it will equate to 2,000 calories, for example, or 1,800, or whatever obviously your targets are, okay? But yeah, to answer that, very, very important. Question number 6, what are the biggest mistakes guys make when trying to drop body fat and get stronger? To be honest, I would say it's just a lack of the structure it's a lack of the structure and the tracking, okay? Because then what that leads to is inaction. That's the biggest mistake that I see. When obviously guys are trying to drop body fat and get stronger and so on, it's the inaccuracy on the things that actually work. 90% of the guys that I speak to aren't following a training program, they're just winging their training. They're going in consistently, but they're not following any form of like well thought out, structured training program, which has progressions built into it. That's point number one. And then obviously, of course, around their diet. Now, nutrition is going to be the biggest driver towards you getting in shape and how you actually look. It just is what it is, okay? So again, nearly, I'd say even more of a percentage on that, 95% of the guys that I speak to are just completely winging their diet and what they're actually consuming, okay? So again, you need to have accuracy on this so that the daily input, say for example, if you've calculated your targets to be 2,000 calories, you need to be eating 2,000 calories. You can't just wing it. You can't just have whatever you want and so on, because you're going to go into the gym and train whatever you want to train on that day, and the training's not effective because you're just winging it. You're just showing up and just doing what you fancy. And then you pair that with following no form of structure or routine from a dieting standpoint, okay? That, to be honest, I would say is the biggest mistake that I get, and that's why a lot of the guys, they're just not getting anywhere with how they want to look or the progress that they're seeing. Question number 7, is cardio necessary for fat loss, or can you just lift weights? That is a really good question, actually, and I know that was actually in a point that I brought up in question number 1. Cardio is not necessary to drop body fat, okay? It's not. It's just a tool. It's just a tool that you can use to help increase the expenditure. But studies actually show that if you actually are going to do a cut, and if you want to obviously reduce body fat, you will actually have a very, very high percentage of just body fat being lost without any muscle tissue being lost if you actually just follow a proper strength training program, so weight-based training program, and pair that with a calorie deficit and steps. All right, so if you can get the accuracy on those, of course you can drop body fat, and if anything, it's actually very, very effective. And some studies actually say that it's more effective than doing cardio as well. And let's just caveat that, because now people are going to be thinking, oh, but you just said to do cardio. It absolutely is a good tool. And what I'd suggest from a cardio standpoint is to be doing what's called low intensity. It's LISS. It's low intensity, steady state. Okay, so that's things like a gradual incline walk, or going out for obviously a walk, or the cross trainer, or just pedaling over on a bike, like going out obviously on a bike, something like that. Low intensity, it allows your muscle recovery to be better because it's low intensity. It's not going to put a big stress on your body. So when you're trying to drop body fat, obviously we're trying to retain as much muscle tissue as possible, so that you can obviously unveil a solid physique underneath that, all right? But to answer the question, no, it's not necessary. Is it a good tool to use? Yes. Question number 8, how do you manage stress and avoid burnout while staying on top of your health and your training? Again, a really good question here. So this, to be honest, this depends on obviously the severity of the stress and what that actually is, all right? Because if you are physically burnt out and you're in a high state of stress, take some time off. And that's what I personally do. I would literally just take some time off. All right, if I'm not feeling good, I'd either go for a little like weekend getaway, or I would do something that I enjoy. So I've kind of got like different levels of things that I enjoy doing from a stress management standpoint, down to like really small things, like I might have a film night, okay, or I might just go out for a nice meal. I find those really, really like nice things to do that just completely take my mind off of things, and it just makes me feel good, okay? They're like low effort input things. Outside of that, you can maybe obviously have like a day out somewhere, or for me, I personally like golf. So a good like de-stress and place for me to be is out on the golf course. So again, that's not quite as short of a time frame as the meal out or like a film night, but it's still super accessible for me to be able to do. So for example, like hobbies is what I would say to that, because obviously that's my thing, but obviously that might not be yours. And then furthermore from that is actually then having more and more time out. And this is where it comes into play of like how stressed am I, how burnt out am I? Do I need to take a weekend off? Do I need to have a weekend getaway? Do I need to do something like that I can really kind of benefit from? Just a reset, feel better again, and then I can come back in and go at it, okay? Now, with regards to stress and burnout, it also depends on where it comes from. Because if, for example, you're talking about training and you're burnt out from training, you just need to take obviously a deload week. So for example, just take like a week off, or take a week of about 50% work rate. So literally you're not trying to break any PBs, you're not doing anything at all. really. You're just moving on to the next one. So that's going to get you feeling much better. But if it's not from training and it's more from like external factors like life, work, family, blah, 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 and so on, and you're in a very high stress state of stress, take some time out, do things obviously that you enjoy. Of course, I can sit here and talk about things like breath work, meditation and things like that. And while they do have their value, and I have done them before, to answer your question, what do I do to manage it? Those are the things that I do. I don't personally do a lot of breath work and things like that. But do we recommend it? Absolutely, because some people it really, really does work very, very well. Question number 9, we're nearly at the end. Question number 9, we've got 10, by the way. I probably should have said that at the start, but if you're still here, appreciate you. But number 9, what is your own weekly training and nutrition routine looking like at the moment? All right, so I've been a little bit back and forth, if I'm honest, on my training, to be honest, just in terms of like what I've actually wanted to do and whether I've wanted to build, whether I've wanted to cut, whether I've wanted to get something into like from a competitive standpoint. That, to be honest, is where I'm leaning into at the moment. But right now, to answer the question, my weekly training looks like the following. I train 4 days a week. I'm currently following an upper body, lower body training split. I've got a lot of content on that, by the way, so if you go over to my Instagram, you'll be able to see the specifics of what I'm actually doing within that split, because I talk about it. But I'm following an upper body, lower body training split. I'm currently avidly just starting on a little bit of a tidy up phase at the moment, all right? So from a training standpoint, I'm always trying to push like my strength, my performance, and trying to get better. But from a physique standpoint and what I'm trying to push forwards at there is I'm just trying to trim up a little bit, drop a little bit of body fat just to get into a little bit of a leaner condition for the summer, because I'm then going to decide basically what I want to do. I'm considering doing some form of event. I'm not sure what that's going to be yet, whether it's going to be like a high rocks, because I'm seeing everyone and their nan doing it, or whether to do something like a CrossFit meet or like a CrossFit open, because I personally think that style of training might suit me a little bit better just because of my gymnastics background and my strength background. Like I do well at like skill-based things or like strength-based things a little bit more so than cardio-based stuff. So we'll see. So that's from a training standpoint. And then nutrition is pretty simple. Basically, I eat 4 meals a day. I prioritize protein across all of those, and it's nothing fancy there. It's just normal amounts. I'm currently having around 2,000 calories and sitting at about 175 grams of protein per day. That's about as far as I've taken it right now. But that's seen me progress quite nicely on a week-to-week basis. So simple frameworks there. Outside of that, by the way, on the weekends, I do get a little bit looser on the weekends just because we kind of take that time to just relax, enjoy, have a little bit of a reset of the week. So we might go to, for example, like a beach club or somewhere nice like that, and then I'll just relax. I'll still keep the foods good, but I won't track it or anything like that, but I'll just enjoy generally what I'm having and then back at it at the week. And then final question here, question number 10, is what is your number 1 tip for someone starting their transformation in 2025? Get a coach. Okay, now obviously I'd say get a coach. Now genuinely I would say get a coach. Like jokes aside, I actually would say get a coach. Obviously I would love to be able to help you through that, but even if it isn't me, get yourself a coach, because it will fast track things and it will teach you significantly more, and it will save a lot of headache. It will attain obviously the result that you're looking for, and it will teach you so much about the process, which will really help with you down the line staying consistent to that. So staying consistent with your training, because you would have learned so much in that 6-month period that then of course down the line, when either you're training on your own and you've only got 6 months of experience of getting stuck in, you know so much. So from like you're just going to want to carry on with those routines that you would have built, because you better understand the process. Okay, but if obviously we're not going to get a coach, then I would say get yourself a training program. All right, that would be number 1. Get yourself an actual training program built around the days that you know that you can commit to, like how many days per week you can commit to. If that's 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever you feel that would be. I would probably recommend 3 or 4 days, to be honest. And I would personally, if you're just starting out, prioritize either a full body split or an upper body, lower body variation. Just a simplified version, because you've got like advanced versions of that, or you've got simplified versions of that. But anyway, point being, get yourself a training program. Get clear on the goal that you're wanting to attain. So if you're starting out on a transformation, I'm assuming you want to drop body fat and you want to build muscle tissue, okay? So what to be doing for that is obviously that you need to get yourself into a calorie deficit and you need to start training consistently. But what I'd say is a starting point is just start training consistently first. Then you can get clear on obviously what your nutrition target should be. So you can literally look that up. You can ask myself, you can look at my previous content. But if you want to just look that up, then you can. Okay, you can type in your stats and say, what should my calories be if I want to achieve this? Or what should my maintenance calories be? And then you can find out what your maintenance is based off of like how tall you are, how active you are, how much you weigh, and so on. And then you can then base it off of that. So for example, if your maintenance, just for numbers sake, is 2,500, then if you want to start eating that for the first 2 to 3 weeks, and then you can kind of pull down from there. All right, because that will get kind of the ball rolling on a really good amount of food as well. So you won't be hungry, you'll just be feeling good, feeling energized, and recovering from your training really, really well. So then you can pull down, as I said. So you can pull to, for example, 2,300 or 2,200, and then that's then you now getting into a deficit. So then you can start, and then simply track your progress, track your body weight, track your progress photos, and track your lifts. So like how much weight you can lift in the gym according to the program that you've set, and then just stay consistent to that. All right, that would be my tips. Outside of that, get yourself a coach, and I'd love to be the one that helps you. All right, that is a wrap on that. I appreciate all the questions. I am going to put another one up because I actually really enjoyed shooting this video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.